Okay, in this next video, I'm going to talk about lists. Actually, let's change this, and tuples. Okay, so these are both examples of data structures. First time we're hitting data structures. So a list is going to look like this, whatever you want in it. It could have just numbers, it could have numbers and letters and strings or whatever you want. It could have true, false, Booleans, whatever. Okay. So we're going to store data in those lists. Okay. We can either put the whole list in like that, or we could create the list using some of the list functions. Okay. So we could do something like this where we're going to say that, and then I can say a.append 3, and a.append 5, and then I can print a. Okay, if I run this, you see that's going to be the list that contains 3 and 5. Okay, the length function works, so we can print here the length of a. Okay, which it's the length is 2. Okay, and remember I can do the subscripting, so a0 is okay and a1 is okay. But both of those have value. Okay, a couple of ways we can do this. I think in the file video, one of the other videos I talked about this, but if I want to iterate through this, so again, the quickest way to make a list to play with is we can say a is equal to the list function range of 10. Okay, this is going to give us, and we can check it out over here. List range of 10. A looks like that. Okay, so 2 ways to iterate through this. Okay, so if I want to iterate the values of the list, okay, I can say for n in a. Okay, and I can print n. That's all I have to do. Okay, so if I do that and run it, it's going to print those out. Easy enough. Okay, but if I want to change the values, okay, so that means I have to iterate with the indices. Okay, and again, I showed an example of that in a prior video, but in this case, we could set I for index equal to 0. I can say here while I is less than the length of a. Okay, and then let's say I want to set my a sub I equal to negative a sub I. So I'm just going to go through and make them all negative. Okay, that should be okay. Then my I have to do a plus equal 1 here to increase it. Okay, and then I can do to print. It's easier just to do a for n in a print n. Okay, so that's going to go through and give us all the negative numbers. Of course, the negative of 0 is still 0. Okay, so these are the 2 ways. This is going to again go through and just, it's going to, you can use them all, okay, but you're not going to be able to make any changes to the values. Okay, so I could use these in a formula if I wanted. I could do whatever I needed to do, but if I need to make changes, you have to have this indices. Okay, sorry, my dog's barking, so who knows what that's about. Okay, so and again, we can change the individual values. Yeah, that's not defined anymore. Every time you run the program, it wipes out what you had done before. So we'll work with here. Again, so I can go to each individual value and change it to whatever I want. Okay, and that's perfectly okay. Okay, there are list functions. Remember, you can, in addition to appending, you can find them with an index. You can change them out. You can delete them. Sorry, remove them. Delete will delete the whole thing. So I can delete a sub 0, for example. Okay, and it takes that whole thing away and reduces the length. Okay, so those are all the functions that you have. Okay. Tuples look very much like list, Okay, we can use a tuple function for that. But you notice that instead of the brackets, it's got the parentheses. Okay, and the difference being that lists are mutable, which means you can change them, but tuples are immutable. Okay, so if I try to do this, it's going to give me an error. Okay, so it gives me this error that I can't do that. Okay, but I can still iterate through. Okay, so that still works. Okay, and we talked before about passing things to a function. So let's say we have a list here. Let me pause video again and see what my dog's doing. I'll be right back. You won't even miss me. Okay, so back to what we were doing. My dogs are quiet for a minute at least. So we have a tuple. If we're going to send it to a function, that's what I was talking about. Oh no, we have a list. Sorry, we have our list A. Okay, and we're going to send it to some function, and we want to make sure that it's not going to change anything. Okay, so whatever we call this, FFF. Okay, it's going to take in whatever it takes. Okay, so normally we would do something like x is equal, or some other variable, y is equal to that. Okay, but you could also, to your function FFF, send the tuple version of A. Okay, and when you do that, if this function tries to do something like x sub 0 is equal to 5, okay, this should give us an error message, and it does. So now it's a tuple. Okay, so if you want it to be non-destructive, that's one other way that you can do that. Okay, so tuples work just like lists. All the functions work except things like append. You can't append. Okay, I can again create a whole new tuple. Okay, but I can't change individual elements, but all the other functions work. Okay, in both lists and tuples, remember we have the slices. Okay, so the slices just mean, and slices, as we heard just the other day, also work for strings. Okay, so if I wanted to print a, and I want to start with the third one, so you start there with the slice, colon, and go up to, but not including the 8th one. Okay, so this is going to be the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. So there should be 5 numbers there. Okay, but the 3 is the 4th element of. Okay, so if I do that, you see it's going to give us the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. Okay, starting with 3. Okay, because 0 is the first, 3 is the 4th item in our list. Okay, and that's really all there is about lists and tuples. Okay, so again, if you have more questions about those, make sure that you let me know.